The story of Elijah is one of courage, faith, and the mighty power of God, displayed in a time of great spiritual darkness in Israel. It begins during the reign of King Ahab, one of Israel's most wicked rulers, and his infamous queen, Jezebel, who led the people into idol worship of Baal, the god of storms and fertility. Elijah, a prophet of the Lord, was called to confront this evil. Elijah first appeared before King Ahab with a bold and ominous declaration: "As the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word." This announcement directly challenged Baal, whom the people believed controlled the rain and harvest. After delivering this prophecy, Elijah disappeared into the wilderness at God's command, evading Ahab's wrath. God led Elijah to the Kerith ravine, where he lived by a brook. There ravens brought him bread and meat every morning and evening, a miraculous provision from the Creator. But as the drought continued, the brook dried up. God then directed Elijah to go to Zarephath, a city in Sidon, Jezebel's homeland, where he had prepared another unlikely source of sustenance. At the gates of Zarephath, Elijah encountered a widow gathering sticks. "Would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink?" he asked. As she went to fetch it, he added, "And bring me, please, a piece of bread." The widow hesitated, her voice heavy with despair. "As surely as the Lord your God lives, I don't have any bread. Only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die." Elijah reassured her with a promise from God. "Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said. But first make a small loaf of bread for me, and then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says: the jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." The widow obeyed, and just as Elijah had said, the flour and oil miraculously replenished day after day. They survived the famine together. But then tragedy struck. The widow's son fell gravely ill and died. Heartbroken, she cried out to Elijah, accusing him of bringing her sin to God's attention and causing her child's death. Elijah took the boy's lifeless body, carried him to the upper room where he was staying, and prayed fervently, "Lord my God, let this boy's life return to him." 3 times he stretched himself over the child, pleading with God. The Lord heard Elijah's cry, and the boy's life returned. Elijah brought him back to his mother, who declared, "Now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of the Lord from your mouth is the truth." After 3 years of drought, God commanded Elijah to return to Ahab and confront the false prophets of Baal. Elijah boldly challenged Ahab and the 450 prophets of Baal to a showdown on Mount Carmel to prove who the true God was. Elijah addressed the gathered Israelites, urging them to choose, "How long will you waver between 2 opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him." 2 altars were prepared, one for Baal and one for the Lord. The prophets of Baal called upon their God from morning until noon, dancing and shouting, but there was no response. Elijah mocked them, saying, "Shout louder. Surely he is a god. Perhaps he is deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and must be awakened." They continued their frantic cries, even slashing themselves, but still, there was silence. Elijah then repaired the altar of the Lord, using 12 stones to represent the tribes of Israel. He arranged wood and placed a bull on the altar. To ensure there could be no trickery, he had the people drench the altar with water 3 times until it filled the trench around it. Elijah prayed, "Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again." Fire fell from heaven, consuming the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the soil, and even the water in the trench. The people fell to the ground, crying, "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" Elijah commanded the people to seize the prophets of Baal, and they were put to death. Elijah then climbed to the top of Mount Carmel and prayed for rain. After sending his servant to look toward the sea 7 times, a small cloud appeared, rising like a man's hand. Soon the sky grew dark, and a heavy rain fell, ending the drought. Despite this triumph, Elijah's faith wavered when Jezebel threatened his life. He fled into the wilderness, overwhelmed with fear and despair. Sitting under a broom bush, he prayed to die. "I have had enough, Lord. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." But God sent an angel to care for him, providing food and water. Strengthened, Elijah traveled 40 days and nights to Mount Horeb, where he encountered God, not in a powerful wind, earthquake, or fire, but in a gentle whisper. God reminded Elijah that he was not alone. There were still 7,000 in Israel who had not bowed to Baal. Elijah's story is a testament to the power of faith, the courage to stand against evil, and the tenderness of God's care even when his servants feel broken and alone. Through Elijah, God demonstrated his supremacy and his desire to turn the hearts of his people back to him.